Hey kids, we're live with another Behind the Bits interview. Thanks for tuning in. If you tune in, I know most of you just wait for the audio, but that's cool. I like to have the video so I can make stupid memes out of it. But hey, I didn't do an episode last week, and the reason why is because I was kind of overwhelmed. I only had one episode to put out because I don't have a whole bunch of a back catalog right now, and the sound was pretty messed up, so it took a lot more work than I thought it was going to do. So I said, okay, I'll put it out a day later. And then I decided just to hold it and it comes out tomorrow. And that is Johnny Beaner. And he's got a great dry bar special and was the last first timer guest on Late Night with David Letterman. So Letterman had during his retirement run, he had a bunch of comedians on that last year, but Johnny was the last person who it was their first time. Everybody else had done it before. So yeah, so it's a really good interview, and I'm glad to do it. And I'm back on a regular schedule now. I may miss a couple because we're going to get out of this terrible apartment here and get into a condo pretty quick, but that's it. So nothing to plug today. I am still imploring American Tall to do some business with me, sponsor this podcast. I'm wearing your sweater right now, your hoodie, whatever you kids call it, and I'm wearing your sweatpants too. I'm not going to stand up to show them, but American Tall. If you sponsor me, all you got to do is give me clothes. I don't want money. I just want clothes. So talk to me. This will be easy. There's a lot of tall comics, so you'll do great. I'm going to bring out my guest today, and somebody I've known just virtually through the internet, through a couple groups that we're a part of, and I've been watching him from the sidelines, as it were, and really digging what he's doing, and just want to see what he is planning and how he's gotten to where he is. It's Trent Babb. Trent,
Hey, what's up,
Trent, thanks,
Scott, man?
thanks for doing the show.
It's a pleasure. I'm a huge fan. I listen to your podcast all the time. I have like my top five favorite podcasts I listen to, and you're
Uh
one of them. And when you reached out, I was like, no way. Yeah.
huh.
You're
you
like,
know,
you want to
it's
do it next month? I was like, no. We're doing it like in a few days because I'm too
yeah.
excited.
It's really funny because I've got a lot of friends who I guess they kind of expect to be on the podcast, and they probably will at some point, but I do it by what I want to cover, because if I've talked to five people about how they write, or five people how they book shows, then I don't need to talk to that type of person. I don't need to get that information again. So it's gonna have to come around at a different time. And it doesn't mean I don't want to talk to them. I have had a few that are, very green open micers that have been doing it for 3 months, that think they should be
Hmm.
on the show and have a lot to offer, and that's just not true. So I've stayed away from them. But yeah, there's a place for everything. I actually have a method to the people I bring on, unless like Letterman calls and says, "Hey, I want to do the podcast," then I'll make room for it.
Yeah. No, I totally get you. You got to mix it up. Your last guest, Johnny Beaner, you said he was on the Late Show, Dry
Yeah,
Bars, and now you got me. Which end of the spectrum am I?
yeah.
So,
You are what I call an up and comer. How about that?
thank you. Yes, thank you so much.
But yeah, we were part of we're still part of the hot breath group, I think, but we both kind of did our own thing after a little bit, because during COVID we were getting together and doing the right 10 and stuff like that. And I think you and I are a little bit similar in that it's hard to be a part of a big group, and we I don't know about you, I kind of like to do my own thing and then pop in the group and say hi and then just go back to doing my own thing, because big groups of people just, I guess it stifles me more than it makes me creative. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Do you feel the same way a little bit?
No, comedians are lone wolves, and you know what? We were so involved with Hot Breath and Joel Byers, and hats off to those guys. They are so positive and so encouraging, and I needed that during
Yeah.
the quarantine. I really
Hmm.
did, and it really helped
Same.
me get through it and keep writing. But once things started opening back up, doing shows again, it's just like, all right, back to work. I got to focus on me, you know.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I am so grateful for Hot Breath and Joel Byers and all that group, and check it out if you're, especially if you're a beginning comic. They really drive home the point of talk about yourself, because that's
Hmm.
what really the audience wants.
Right.
They don't want to hear your Nestle Quick joke. They want to hear how you
Hmm.
almost peed your pants getting out of bed this morning.
Yeah.
You know, not that I have a bit like that or anything, but
Yeah.
maybe I should write that down. I
Yeah,
should write that down.
that's a good setup. There you go. Now I've watched like every clip that you've done,
Wow.
and the one thing is the thing I wanted to ask is you started comedy about 8 years ago, which was before children.
Yeah.
Was it before you were married?
Yeah, but it's actually right when my wife and I started dating. I was 27 years old, and we went to a little local open mic, heard about it, and I got the bug right then and there. And I'm still at that little venue. I actually just took over hosting, so it's just like full circle.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I don't know how that makes my wife feel.
Yeah.
I didn't have this need to get in front of strangers and make them laugh until I met this one woman.
Yeah. So your material is super solid and super, it's about your family. I mean, you talk about your wife a lot, you talk about the kids a lot. So what was your material before all that?
Oh man, it was it was just topical, kind of observational, but you know what it was really bad. I cringe listening to the old stuff because it was really punny.
Yeah.
So many puns. If you're a comedian and you got more than 2 puns in a set, you might wanna knock it back a bit, you
Yeah.
know? I seriously ended every joke with a pun, and, it was just a lot of wordplay,
Uh-huh.
and it came across as I was overthinking. Like, the crowd could tell that, "Oh, he memorized this," and
Uh-huh.
that's not what they want these days. They want honest, authentic, uh, personality. So, I'm really happy with where I'm going at in comedy. They say 10 years, you find your voice. It kind of feels about right. I'm
Mhm.
8 and I'm like, yeah, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I'm
Mhm.
talking about me and I'm getting my own patterns and I'm not saying puns.
Yeah, yeah. Now, one of the things that surprised me about you is there was some like online mics that we could do together. I think there was a couple feedback mics and things like that that we did together. And you're kind of like, I guess I am. You were kind of serious. You weren't super animated or anything like that. And then I watch your clips, and you're like all over the stage. Have you always been like that too?
Scott, I have a lot of built up aggression inside me.
Yeah.
And when I get on stage, it all comes out in just fun vibes. I love it. It's honestly therapy for me.
Yeah.
I really get those aggressions out of my system,
Mhm.
and it just happens that I come across really animated. I make big faces. That's the big thing. A lot of people come up to me after the shows. They're like, "You're really animated. You remind me of a young, Jim Carrey." I'm like, "Oh, thank you."
Uh-huh.
That's too bad because there's already a Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. But I just love act outs. I love doing them. It's a show, and I love giving people a show. And granted, sometimes it's overacting. Totally. Like I feel it
Mhm.
from the crowd. Like you got to. I have to really tune in with the audience and get on their wavelength because I have a joke up top where I do an act out, and if they laugh during that act out, I'm like, okay, I'll keep the rest. If they
Mhm.
don't laugh during that act out, I'm like, okay, we're just gonna keep it
Tone
mild,
it down low, yeah.
tone it down a little bit. But yeah, all the clips you see are some of the best parts of my show, and that's where I'm just being nutty.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and like I said, it was a surprise because you're when we were doing these mics and stuff, you were serious about it, just like I am. You really wanted to get feedback and give feedback, and the writing process is definitely different than the performing process, and you seem to be getting into that sweet spot where the writing and the performing just come together, and you've got an act. It's not just you doing a set, it's actually more of an act than a set, and I really enjoy that.
Thank you so much. The trick is not being married to the words. What I do is I write out all my jokes. I'm really meticulous about it, but then I let a couple days slide, and then I record me saying the joke without reading it, and then
Mhm.
I compare how I did. I'm like, oh, this is different. Oh, okay, and I really hone in on how my natural speech patterns, and it's made a world of a difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zoom comedy sucks. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying, Scott?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
it
Oh god.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, I picked back up smoking again after doing Zoom comedy.
Yeah.
I swear, I quit recently. That's a horrible habit, but yeah, the Zoom comedy. Whew, that was
Yeah.
rough.
I what I describe Zoom comedy to somebody as when you're done, it feels like you got dumped by a blind date that you didn't wanna go on anyway.
And then you see their name on Craigslist. I'll take anybody. Like, what?
Yeah.
They want to take me, but they'll take anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I did a few, you did a few, it just wasn't fun. It made you feel bad about yourself, and I'm not saying that it's bad. Some people love it, and some people lean into it, and it's good for them, and have fun. You don't have to worry about any competition from Scott
Oh
or
yeah.
Trent.
No, you do you. Like
Yeah.
there's a place for every type of performer. Now, Scott, I haven't seen any clips of you. Do you post?
Not very often. And really in the last year in 2021 was when we moved and just a lot of
Oh.
stuff going on. So I performed once in 2021.
Well,
And
you're
I
you're such a great podcaster, man. These are your clips, the episodes, man.
Yeah, and I really had to lean into that because the age I'm at, I was scared of COVID and all that kind of stuff. So even if protocols were being followed, there was that still raised my chance of getting it and getting on a ventilator and all that crap. So I just decided to really just kind of put away because it's more of a hobby for me than something that I'm really pursuing as a I I don't think I'm gonna get a Netflix special or anything out of this, but I really enjoy doing it, being in a new area, I get to start over, and all my old jokes are funny again, so that's cool.
Yeah. Well, you say it's a hobby, but man, you take it serious. You interview all these guys and you take their advice and you apply it to your own. And so it's a, I people ask me if I'm a professional comedian. I'm like, no, I don't get paid much. It's a serious hobby.
Yeah,
I'm just waiting for that big break.
yeah. Now you've got some really good bits, the ones that I've seen you post. When do you decide a joke is good enough to take into a set? When I know there's the writing process and the working it out, the open mic and things like that. When do you decide it's a good joke? It's an A joke.
I appreciate you saying you have some good clips. I have like 20. So,
Yeah. I
you
watched
have
all of them.
some. Yeah, no, I'm joking. How do I know a bit's ready for the stage? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying? It almost works full circle in a way where it's got to have that personal touch at the very beginning.
Mhm.
So it's me. And then the joke has to kind of make a broad stroke on a big topic that everyone can relate to.
Mhm.
And then there's the act out. And then it closes with on me again, and that's when I feel like a bit is good. I'm not
Mhm,
so good with the one-liners or the two-liners. They just
mhm,
feel incomplete. You
mhm.
know, I I I bring audiences into this world that is a joke, and if just to cut it off after one or two lines, I'm like, I still want to stay in that place. Like,
Yeah,
let's have more fun there.
yeah,
And so, when the bit is well rounded, where it addresses me, a big topic, an act out, and then comes back around to me again,
mhm,
that's when I'm like, okay, let's try it out on stage.
yeah.
Now it's ready.
I get jealous of those, comedians that post the reels that are, like, 10 seconds long, and it's a one-liner, and it's just hilarious, because I can't do that to save my life.
Well, where do they post these? Is that like a TikTok thing or something like that?
I mostly watch reels. I've got a TikTok account, but I can't remember the last time I logged in, but most of the reels are TikToks they've shared, so it's I just look for them,
Yeah.
and Instagram knows your algorithm, they know what you like, so they put those up.
Well, don't you think it's weird how these days it feels like the one-liner comic isn't really that relevant? Like, because people just want personal so bad.
Yeah.
Like, they just want to know who you are, and just that one liner isn't enough. I feel like. I mean, do you feel that too?
Yeah, and I think folks like and I talk about this a lot, I think folks like, Gaffigan and Nate Bargatze and folks like that, have done a couple things. They've changed comedy so that you don't have to be, like, super filthy, and you don't have to be super controversial, you don't have to pick a side on anything, you can just be who you are and be kind of goofy about it and be clean. And the funny thing is I've been to multiple shows by both of those guys, and the crowd that they bring in is the most diverse crowd that you could imagine. I
Oh,
mean, you,
right.
you got young people, you got old people, you got white, you got black, you got Asian, you got bikers, you just everybody likes that type of comedy. So it's almost like clean comedy's having kind of a renaissance. And when I say clean comedy, I mean like PG-13, or just just not
Yeah.
saying fuck every single word, and so yeah, I think that has come around. I think there's a place for any comedy as long as somebody will come see it. And I
Yeah.
love one-liner comedies, and but I haven't, like you say, you don't see too many of them anymore, because I wouldn't say it's a dying art, because the storytelling stuff has come back around after being gone for a while too. So
Everything comes back around, doesn't it?
yeah, just like bell bottom jeans.
Yeah, which I was going to offer to you. I have some, and I just want to sponsor you after
Yeah.
what you said at the very beginning. You please sponsor me. Just send me clothes. Hey, what? I got a
uh,
thong I haven't worn in years. Here, I'll give it to you.
yeah.
Sponsor.
I'm gonna make that happen, by the way, one way or
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other. Now, you have you you do something that a lot of comics don't do. You're part of that, Facebook group, the is it comedy writing Facebook comedy writing group?
Yes, the FB comedy writing group.
Yeah,
I like
and
how you're
and
like,
you're
you do something not a lot of people do. You're
yeah,
on a
well,
writing group.
yeah, but you're a moderator there, and you crowdsource a little bit tags and stuff and look for feedback before stuff goes out. How has that worked for you?
It works great. Actually, most of the stuff I post up there is kind of like has a theme, like, hey, I got this type of show coming up. I got a
Yeah.
Thanksgiving show. How about this joke here? But I get some good tags. There's some great people out there, and yeah, you run the risk of someone maybe wanting to steal your bit. When I post something and someone replies a really good idea, I take it and then I delete the post because I'm like,
Yeah.
that is
There you go.
amazing. I I I didn't think of that. And you know what else it is I categorize my jokes, what steps they are in. You know, I have group A, which are A material, there's
Uh-huh.
B, and then there's C. The only stuff I post on that Facebook page is C stuff, like
Yeah.
stuff I've been stuck on. Like,
Yeah.
it's so easy to get stuck on a bit. You know, you think of everything, you do all the association lists, you answer who, what, when, where, and why, and how, and then you're just like, it just all jams up in your head. You don't know what to do, and
Mhm.
so I'm thankful there's that Facebook page, and but it takes a while to get used to the criticism that you don't want to hear. You know,
Yeah.
people are like, "This is the worst thing I've ever read." You're a comedian. It's like, well, you want me to post my A material? You want to hear the good stuff? Like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
And Facebook is just so toxic, but there's always like a little glimmer of hope when somebody gives you something good, and there's those little nuggets. And it's funny because I used to, where I came from, there was the comedy scene there. I just loved everybody in it. I mean, we all got along really good. However, there was only a couple of them that I ever asked for tags from because they got me. It's one thing to see you and laugh at your jokes and stuff like that, but they got where I was coming from, and and it wasn't necessarily an age thing because one of them was a lot younger, like less than half my age, but the other one was a little bit older, but s- you get those folks that get you. And when you put it on a Facebook group with 7,000 members, then the chances of you find somebody who gets what you're writing is a lot higher anyway.
Yeah, uh, that's so great that you had that community. You know, where you're from, and it's all about throwing shit at a fan and seeing what sticks. You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
that's what it's all about. But that's so great that you had those buddies. You know, and if there's any aspiring comedians out there, find a buddy or two that you can really workshop with,
Hmm.
ask for honest feedback,
Hmm.
or give ideas to. And I totally get comedians that don't want any input because, like we were talking about earlier, we're lone wolves. We kind of want to do our own thing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to jokes, whoever has the best idea, let me hear it. Dang, that is good. Can
Yeah.
I have it? Great.
Yeah.
you know.
And a lot of the old timers that I've interviewed on here, they did that. And if they weren't writing for another comedian, they did work together. They workshop their stuff back before workshopping stuff was a thing. So Bob Zaney's one of my favorites, and he's
Yeah.
punched up a lot of people's acts, and he won't say who, but they're
I think that's part of the deal, though.
yeah,
You get paid, and then
yeah,
it's like, okay.
yeah, but some of them are dead now, so you'd think
Oh,
you'd
yeah.
think he'd say.
Well, on the other end of that spectrum, there's this really good interview with Brian Regan. He's at Apple headquarters. You can easily find it on YouTube. And he talks
Uh-huh,
about how one time he tried to go to a group writing session and how it was not for him.
uh-huh.
And he was like, yeah, some guy just stood there and was like, so, cars. He's like, wait, what? You want us to write a joke for you about cars? He's like,
Yeah,
this is not for me. So, I mean, and Brian Regan's top three in the country, I think.
right,
And so, to each their own. Whatever works
right.
best for you. And I need all the help I can get. So,
Yeah.
and,
And he's got a really specific sense of humor, and his stuff comes so personal. I don't think anybody could ever help him punch that up.
no, no, he is so good, and he has his audience now. He can get away with a little bit more than he used to, but man, he's amazing. And
Mhm.
and through and through Hot Breath, Joel Byers, we were able to meet Brian Regan's opener on the East Coast, Steven Rogers,
Mhm.
and I worked with him a few times in workshops, and you could easily tell he has it.
Yeah.
He is funny,
Mhm.
you know, and he's not Mr. Act Out like I am. It's inspirational. I'm like, wow, you're funny, and you didn't have to wave your arms up in the air.
Yeah.
It's inspirational. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm striving towards. I want to tone back a little
Uh-huh,
bit.
uh-huh. Well, I don't know. I like what you do, so I
Oh,
guess
thanks,
either
man.
way, either way is good. Now, you talked a little bit about A, B, and C jokes, and you seem like a pretty organized guy about your comedy. So, can you take me through how you keep jokes organized and how you put a set together and just so the whole shebang of it?
Well, how much time do we have? No, I'm joking. You know what's funny, man? I'm not organized in life at all, but with comedy, I am OCD. I am
Uh-huh.
crazy. So how it starts, I do Google Docs for the most part. I'm Google Docs. I like
Mhm,
the organization of it, but I have a file that says jokes 2022, and
mhm,
I'll write out my ideas, my jokes, and they're all organized. It's just listed down, and then I go back. I'm like, ooh, I like that one, and then I copy it and I paste it onto a another doc that says set, and then
mhm.
I work on that set, and then I have a printout doc,
Yeah.
move it to that,
Uh-huh.
print it out, and I have a physical copy. It's so important to have a physical copy of your jokes, and I take that to an open mic, and I'm like, okay, I'm reviewing right before I go on. I'm like, okay, okay, all right, boom, put it away, get on stage. Um, I record all my sets.
Mhm,
Audio. Number 1, audio. Big shows, I do video too, but audio always big inspiration. And
mhm.
anyways, get off the set, get off the stage, I make my little notes that I had, but then I go back later and I got this method from Adam Mueller. He's an East Coast comic who I met through Hot Breath.
Mhm.
I take that printout, copy it, put it in graded sets, and then I highlight everything that got laughs. I highlight, and then I highlight it and bold it if it got a really big laugh.
Mhm.
And everything else, I go back into the original doc and I just cut everything that there's too much white. There's
Uh-huh.
no highlighted part, and then so the joke starts big, and then it just kind of comes,
Uh-huh.
sandwiches down, and that's the process.
Yeah. I like that.
It's a
Now, the other side of that process, and you've been doing it long enough, and I've been doing it just long enough that those jokes that you take out or you bring down, you press them down to almost nothing. At some point, that becomes a launching pad for a bigger, better joke, and parts of that joke come along with it. Have you had that happen?
I haven't, but a buddy of mine told me Louis CK does that kind of
Uh,
approach. So what you're saying is then see, I'm such a student of comedy. I'm like, wait, let me write down that
yeah.
technique. What? Hold on. Okay, step two was what? Um, so like I said, the sandwich method, and then you're saying from that condensed joke, you're like that spawns more ideas.
Yeah, there's two parts to it. It's a joke that was too long that I condensed, and then there is a joke that I just completely took out of my act because it wasn't funny.
Hmm.
And both of those have come back around to the point where I put them back in my act, and I've made like my my new closer is this town needs more vape shops, and that's universal. Any town you're in, it'll work because there's 100,000 vape shops in every town, and they all sell CBD, and it's funny. But
They
I
all
that
have
was
posters for sale.
that used to be a two-line joke. This town needs more vape shops. You vapors need to not walk more than 20 feet to get your tutti frutti vape juice. And then it was done. And that was in the middle of my set. And that got the biggest laugh of anything I did. So I turned it into this whole thing where we're chanting, I say vape, you say juice, and I say I'm going to run for city council on the vape juice platform. And it just so it, I could make that a 5-minute joke. And
Yeah,
right now I've got it about 2 minutes, and it's a really good closer. But I had done it for a while, and then I just stopped doing it because it didn't really fit in with my talking about my kids and talking about my wife and grandkids and stuff like that. It didn't really fit, but it's such a strong closer that I find a way to put it in as my closer now, and I've made it, probably 10 times as long as it used to be.
Yeah, well, you brought up something interesting. You want the crowd wants to know who you are, and putting that up front is always like number
Yeah.
one for me as an unknown. But you closing out with that, that is totally fine. It's like now we know you, we know your sensibilities. Now
Mhm.
let's go to Goofy Town,
Yeah.
and that's totally it, man. You said run for governor or mayor, you'll
Yeah.
smoke the competition. Oh wait, we
Yeah.
can't smoke. That's what came to my mind.
Yeah.
And who's your running mate? Joe Camel,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, I really have fun with it. Now, thinking about the, I wanna go back to you recently posted a clip of the, Raiders fan that got pissed off at you about the tattoo thing, and I wanna say I've watched that I've watched that a few times, and the reason why is because I saw somebody up there that wanted to fight, and I think that was you. I think because you didn't back away. When he
No,
came up to you and he took the mic out of your hand and all that, you stood right there, but you didn't lean forward. You didn't go at him, but you were ready if something came at you. And I thought the restraint was really cool, and the fact that you didn't just fold under pressure, I thought that was great.
I could tell you really wanted to get to this topic, Scott.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so
okay,
what I
let me write
wanna
a joke. Make
know.
it quick, cause I got something to ask you.
Yeah. So what was going through your head, and how did that all turn out for you? Because I just thought it was, I mean, if it would have happened to me, I would have hated it, but it was a really good clip to put up there. But the other thing is the way you reacted. I just want to know how you felt during that.
Scared.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
And
but
the name of the show, was it Blunts and Brunch or something like that?
yeah, I was a little out of my element. But a show's a show, and they're gonna pay me $100 for 20 minutes in
Yeah.
my hometown. I'm like, I don't
Uh-huh.
have to travel 3 hours for this. Yeah, I'll do it. I don't care if the room's smoky. Yeah, it was an interesting show, but you know, kind of my mantra I've been going through in my mind as a comic for the last year, because we've only been able to have a year so far with the pandemic sort of over, is
Mhm.
our job as comics is to have fun and project that fun to the crowd to make them forget their worries and be
Mhm.
in the moment and make them feel like everything's okay. So when that guy approached me on stage and yanked the mic out of my hand, and you guys couldn't hear it, but I tried boosting the audio and editing, but he's just like, "You want to hear something funny? You want to see something funny? You want to see something funny?" I'm like, "Huh?
Oh.
Huh?" I just kept my eyebrows up and smiled
Yeah.
as if to tell the crowd everything's okay. Um, but in my mind, I'm going, "Please, someone come up here and get this guy. Please, someone come up here and get this
Yeah.
guy. Please." Finally, the promoter guy gets up there, gets him off, and what even brought it home was as the guy was getting off stage, he trips. You know,
Oh. Yeah.
he falls. You don't see it
Mm.
on the tape, but you see me just crack up. People think
Yeah.
I'm laughing at him. I am, but it's because he fell.
Uh,
Mr. Tough Guy coming up on stage to Mr. Funny Guy and trying to start a fight falls. Anyways, so and I was filming. I knew I was filming. So I'm like,
uh,
if I get punched, I'm gonna go viral.
yeah. So
So
you weren't hoping for the punch, but you're kinda hoping for the punch.
yeah, it when when Michael J. Fox was filming Back to the Future, there's that scene where he gets hit by the car and it hits his head on the pavement.
Yeah.
He really does that. And they asked him why he did it so hard. He's like, pain is temporary, film is forever.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite movie. So thanks, Marty.
Yeah.
I almost got killed. all for a couple followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
But I'm
So
so glad you like that clip. That's why I put it up. It's so honest, and it starts off with a joke.
yeah.
And it gets the laugh, and then it jumps to a few moments later, and that guy comes up on stage. So I'm glad you watched it multiple times.
So do you think he was pissed off because he was a Raiders fan or because he had a tattoo? I don't know what set him off.
So I live in Central California in the San Joaquin Valley, all farmers. It's low
Mhm.
income living, and there are a lot of Raider fans.
Mhm.
So, and you know what's even great? I love how Raiders moved to Vegas. It makes me feel so good. I'm like, oh, your California team's now in Vegas. How do you feel now? Uh, I love it. Because I'm a waiter, and you see these Raider fans come in, and they never tip. They never
Uh,
tip. So you do comedy so you can get back at the people that have done you wrong a little
yeah.
bit, and so that's what I was going for. But yeah, that guy, he got off stage, and afterwards, the booker came up to me. He's like, "I'm so sorry, dude. That guy's been on a bender for 2 days." I'm like, "Well,
Wow.
thanks for letting him into the show."
Yeah.
You know, tickets were 50, $60 for all these people, and you let that drunkard in and try to ruin the show. So, but not to toot my own horn, but I am proud of how I try to keep it fun
Uh-huh.
and not lose control, because I've had shows where someone stormed on stage and I'll just hand off the mic and I'll run off,
Uh-huh.
and other comics get on my case about it. So I think you learn from experience, like, okay, do not be scared right now.
Mhm.
Stand strong, be fun, and hope to God it works out.
Right, right. Yeah, you like I said, you handled it very, very well. Now, I wanted to ask what part of your set was that? Was that beginning, middle, or end?
Oh, that was towards the end. Like
Okay.
I told you, it was a room full of Raider fans. I'm going to save the Raider joke till the end.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of comes back to what we were talking about with your set. You got to let people learn who you are, and you laugh at yourself, so you don't
Mm,
take yourself so seriously. You're not above the audience. And then you can challenge them towards the end. The,
yeah,
the audience, you can challenge them in some way. And that was my challenge.
yeah.
And it was a big challenge for that one guy.
uh So you started comedy pretty as an adult at
Yeah.
27 years old. You're according to scientists, your brain is fully formed. So
Mhm.
you were not the typical 19-year-old or 18-year-old that starts out. What comedians did you really dig before you started doing comedy that you feel like maybe some of that came with you in your comedy?
I've always been a huge fan of comedy since I was a kid, and I I have my particular specials that I always go back to, and I can't get enough of them because it kind of takes me back to childhood, but also they're just incredible specials.
Mm,
First one that comes to mind is Robin Williams live at the Met.
mhm. Yeah.
Amazing. What's weird is the filmed version is a different night than what's the on the audio version, and I prefer the audio
Oh,
take.
I
But
didn't know that.
yeah, if you listen to it, the jokes are a little different. He delivers them a little different, and I'm just accustomed to it. But another special, Eddie Izzard, Dressed to Kill.
That's a good one.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it made you think, and he was goofy, and I watched it so much. My stepdad's like, Trent, I'm a little worried you're watching this transvestite so much. I'm like,
Yeah.
but he's funny.
And
Um,
the good thing about Eddie is that, he comes from the Britain's more of a storytelling type comedy style, and he still does his stories, but he's got so many tags in there that keep you laughing throughout. He's so good at that.
it's absurdist or something. I forget what the word is, but he's just out there.
Yeah.
His imagination rolls with it. It's
Mhm.
so good. And then another special is John Leguizamo, his Freak, I believe that's what it was, and
Mhm.
he won a Tony Award for that one man show. But it was a comedy, and then Pablo Francisco, that the Comedy Central half hour way
Mhm.
back when. Oh, for a 13-year-old kid, that was gold.
Yeah.
That was gold. Me and my buddies quote that thing so much. And I look at those specials, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of all those wrapped into one. It's really weird how it came back around where that influence has really uh, uh, been part of my personality on stage.
Mhm. Who have you worked with that really impressed you not only as a comic, but as a human being?
Who have I worked with? I haven't worked with much. No, I'm kidding. you know, um, the two people come to mind. There's an LA comic named Joe Dungan. He's a clean comic, and he works with Jerry Corley, who's my favorite
Okay.
comedy instructor. But
Mhm.
Joe Dungan, he's a clean comic, just straight laced guy, cool. He's older, you know, looks kind of like my dad. Maybe that has something to do with it. But
Uh-huh.
after his shows, he does a great show, and then he sits where the crowd was with all his merchandise, with his books, and he sits there and he talks to everyone and signs it. And I just really liked his aura, so
Mhm.
I try to copy that a lot. And then there's I worked with Kabir Singh, who was a semifinalist on America's Got Talent this year,
Okay.
and he wins he's just the California comic. He's won all the competitions, America's Got Talent. He's doing TV shows, Family Guy, and he's just a hard worker. And I've worked with him a few times, and he's just always happy. You keep
Mhm.
hearing about these headliners that are kind of bitter and like, all right, what time you want me there? Is there food? You know.
Yeah.
He's just nice. And then after my sets, he's like, "Hey, I got this room up here. You want to come up and do that room?" And which he doesn't have to do that. And so I try to. I really want to be that headliner in the future that helps out other aspiring comedians that are really passionate. Because
Mhm.
it goes a long ways. 'Cause that show I did with him happened 2-3 months ago, and it's still with me. It
Mhm.
pushes me to try harder.
Mhm.
So yeah, Kabir Singh and Joe Dungan, those two guys.
I've heard of Kabir, but I have not heard of Joe, so I'm gonna have to look him up.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And he's quick too. He gets right to the punch, so you'll like that, Mr.
Mhm.
One-liner fan.
Yeah. So, as far as balance is concerned, when you started out, you were, single and then just getting married and no kids. Now you've got a couple kids and
Mhm.
you still want to do your thing. You got a dream. How are you keeping the balance together so that family is okay and comedy's okay too?
Well, first thing, I married an incredible woman that's very supportive. I hope she's listening. But she is the best, and I tell any comic that's about to get married or be in a serious relationship, tell your partner your dreams, and
Mhm.
I aimed high. I told her, I'm like, honey, I want to be a touring comic. I want to be the next Conan O'Brien. I was reaching for the stars, and she's like,
Mhm.
okay. I'm like, you sure? Because that means I'm going to be gone summers, and when we have kids, maybe,
Mhm.
I'm going to be gone for a month or something like that. And she's like, okay. Um, so that's number one. Find that special someone that really encourages you to follow your dreams. And secondly, I am a very moody person. If I don't get out of the house at least once a day, my wife's like, "You're going nuts, aren't
Yeah.
you?" Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, I have cabin fever. I have to go. I have to observe people and write down what I see and make jokes
Uh-huh.
about them. I'm sick. I'm
Yeah.
sick, Scott. I don't know what's wrong with me." But and I really think that's it. That's how I'm able to do it. If I didn't have a supportive wife, I'd be screwed. You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
either unhappy living at home all the time, or screwed, as in divorced and very unhappy. You know,
Mhm.
so don't settle for anyone that doesn't support your dreams. Um, because in the long run, that's what you need. You need that support to feel confident in what you're doing is right.
Mhm.
Because comedy, Scott, there's this is hard,
Yeah.
financially and emotionally.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's the hardest. Do you run jokes past your wife?
No.
No? Okay.
Actually, no, no, actually, no, actually, I do. I do, because my wife is super smart. She's got a master's degree, everything. But with jokes, they kind of go over her head a little bit, and so
Uh-huh.
I will run a joke by her just to make sure I'm being clear.
Mhm.
They say with jokes you got to almost tell them as if you're speaking to a fourth grader.
Yeah.
Right? You ever heard
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
And so, my wife has a master's degree, but she has a 4th grader's, you know, I don't know what, I'm a 3rd grader, I don't even know the word. But yeah, so I do run jokes by her, and, I also tell her what I say for the most part. I'm like, "Hey, you okay with me talking about this?" And
Yeah. Yeah.
she's like, "Yeah, you can talk about it. I won't go to your show, but yeah, it's okay."
Uh-huh. My wife's exactly the same. I think she's only had one that she didn't care for, and she said, "I don't care if you do it, just don't do it while I'm there."
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that great? Sounds like you have a
Yeah.
great woman too, Scott.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, 38 years now, so, yeah, it's been a little while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible, man. Congratulations.
Now thinking Go ahead.
My wife and I have been married 5 years, and we're so excited 'cause, we're more than halfway done. It's great.
Yeah. That's according to statistics. You don't have to go with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we believe in numbers here.
Yeah. I liked what you said about, the joke actually making sense to a 4th grader or making sense to somebody who doesn't know you. I'm taking
Mhm.
a comedy class right now, I'm just finishing it up, and one of the jokes I wrote, I thought was very plain. It was very easy to understand, and the feedback I got, it was funny up until here, and then you lost me, and I kept looking at it, "How could I lose you? How could I," and it it's actually pretty obvious how I lost them. They just didn't understand the context. They didn't I was jumping from just like one half of a context to another half, and that I didn't make the jump right. And I got it, but they didn't get it, and I was really happy that I told it to them first before I did it on stage, because all the good laughs I got at the beginning of it would have been canceled out by the complete silence during the second half of the joke.
Yeah, as comics, we assume people know what we're talking about, like,
Yeah.
they know where we're coming from. Uh, Mitch Hedberg off his, Do You Believe in Gosh, album, it's his last album they came out with, he
Uh-huh.
has a part in there where he tells a joke, doesn't get a laugh, he's like, "You jump in my head, come back out, tell me that joke's not funny."
Yeah.
You know? It's something we struggle with, and that's why, you go crazy if you just write all day and don't say the joke out loud.
Mhm.
That's why Zoom comedy was, pretty important during the pandemic. At least I got to say it, and
Yeah,
people go, huh, I don't understand what you're saying here. It's like, oh, okay, back to the drawing board. And
right.
you use the term bridge, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah, oh yeah, I forgot to build that bridge, the
Yeah.
context,
Mhm. Yep.
so
Yep.
important. Fourth graders.
Yeah. So, at the stage you're at and knowing what you know now, what do you wish you woulda known when you were starting out that you know now?
Um, it's funny. I told you, Scott, I'm such a huge fan of your podcast,
Mhm.
and
And so
I
I
actually,
asked this.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But we've already sort of talked about him. So number one, no puns.
Yeah.
I mean, earlier I said if you have more than two in your entire set, you need to drop them, and two is pushing it.
Mhm.
So, um, I told you I've been doing it 8 years. Honestly, if I'm completely honest with myself, the first five, some would argue six, I was horrible with
Mhm.
puns and wordplay and just not living in the moment. It's all about being in the moment, or at least making it seem you're in the moment. And when
Mhm.
as soon as that pun comes out, people go, "Oh, he thought of that before he got here. Ah,
Yeah.
screw that." So I really wish someone would have sat me down and said, "Hey, man, this whole fun gun pun thing, get rid of it."
Uh-huh.
You know, get rid of it, man. Talk
Yeah.
about your life.
Yeah.
Talk about your life. Okay.
Everybody's
That's what
life
I
is
wish
funny.
I wish I would have known. Oh, and one more thing, this is just a new topic. I wish someone would have told me if I had an idea for another comic, how to make their stuff better, ask them if they wanna hear it.
Mhm.
Don't
Mhm.
give unsolicited advice. I've gotten in trouble a few times, telling people like, "Hey, you should try this. Hey, you should try that." And they're like, "Okay." Next day
Yeah.
on online, there's just this whole rant about it, and they tag me in it, and then it goes on and on and on. And one time, do not do this, guys. This is horrible. I feel so bad about this. One time, a girl performed with shorts on. They were really short shorts, and she was the host. She kept going
Uh-huh.
up and up and up. I told her, I'm like, "Hey, you should really not perform in shorts because I'm not paying attention to your words. I'm looking at your legs. You should.
Uh,
I want to pay." And oh boy,
no.
World War III. And everyone was rallying against me online. I was like, I really just took a hit in my
Yeah.
career. So learn from my mistakes, people. If you have an idea for someone, ask them if they want to hear it. I wish someone would have told me that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I don't think I've ever been caught in that, but I can see how that would be very uncomfortable.
Well, Scott, you're a smart man. I am a dumb boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
I've been around the block a few times. Now, at the beginning, when we first started talking, you talked about that you've got a pretty strict written out joke, but you're not married to the words, and the whatever happens on stage can dictate maybe you changing things up a little bit. Have you ever had a joke that you thought was just so perfect and you started doing it and it wasn't going the way you wanted and you changed it up a little bit and it made the joke even better?
wow. Okay. Yeah. So, one of my earlier bits, I told you I did a bunch of wordplay at the very beginning, and I think this is the one joke that's kind of stayed in the act a little bit. If
Mhm.
but I talk about the differences of being at a place or in a place. How do you know if you're at or in a place? And it did okay, but as soon as I approached why I'm talking about this, and then I mentioned like, oh well, I have a fascination with language. I went to college and got an English degree. I'm like, wait a minute, I need to put that in there.
Mhm.
So I start off that whole joke with saying I graduated college with an English degree, and it's great. It guarantees me a job at Olive Garden. It's wonderful. It's
Uh-huh.
so good. And I go off about Olive Garden, and then I go, well, actually, I got an English degree because I'm fascinated with language. I mean, you guys ever notice how you can be at a place or in a place? It gave me my in,
Mhm.
you know, and it's always good to have. I think that's why a lot of jokes should start from the personal because it's your in into the
Mhm.
topic that you want to really talk about.
Yeah.
So I recommend that to any comic. If you're having a hard time with the joke, it's just like put yourself in it and start off with that
Uh-huh.
and see how it happens. So um yeah, that joke is completely turned around and yeah, it's in the set.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. I've heard I've heard that one. I don't think it's posted in your current YouTube thing, but I think you posted it on Facebook at one point.
Um, I don't think so because that is one of those jokes, we were talking about sounding too scripted. That joke
Mhm.
definitely sounds scripted because like you're either at this,
Yeah.
at is an option, in is against your will. You eat at a Mexican restaurant and then you regret it in the bathroom.
Mhm.
It's got it's na 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 na
Yeah.
na na na
Maybe
na.
maybe that was something you were working out at one of the workshop things we were doing.
Yeah, and
It sounds familiar.
you know what's funny is Jerry Seinfeld came out with his before Seinfeld special on
Uh-huh.
Netflix, and he has a joke very similar. You know,
Yeah.
are
Mhm.
are, are you in the train or are you on the train? You're on the train,
Yeah.
but there's a cab. Do you get on the cab? No, you get in the cab. Why? So you can get out of the cab. It
Yeah.
it, it really and Jerry's one of my favorites. So I think that's why I don't really tell it that much because I'm like it's a lot. It's very
Mhm.
Seinfeld esque, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard. What was the guy's name I interviewed? I interviewed a comic that did a joke that I was just gonna start doing. Well, I had done it once, about plantar
Oh,
fasciitis, and my joke was almost exactly what his was. It was you talk about parallel thinking, like, almost it was so close, and I told him, and his first name's Greg, I can't remember the last name, but anyway, um, I told him about it, and he said, "Well, you can still work with that." I'm like, not really. I
it
I yeah, I mean, my idea is pretty much your idea, and you are the guy with the Amazon and Netflix specials, so
yeah.
I really can't do that anymore, so I'm not gonna even try.
Really eat the same angle? I mean, the topic, yeah, you could talk about the same topic, but
Yeah,
the same angle too?
yeah, it was about the pain in the shoes. I mean, it was so close. I found a couple different ways I could do it, but I'm almost over it. Maybe in a couple years will be one of those jokes like, "Oh, yeah, I remember that. Let's see if we
Yeah.
can make it better." Yeah,
Bring it
yeah.
back around. One of my favorite comics is Chad Daniels, and he
Uh-huh,
came out with this incredible special. It's called The 11th One or something like that.
uh-huh.
And it's actually the 11th time he's performed since the pandemic. And the special is incredible. But he
Yeah.
talks about plantar fasciitis. He's like, oh, yeah, it's Latin for my foot fucking hurts.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned at the top that you're hosting an open mic now, and a lot of the people I've talked to either have hosted or are hosting an open mic. Can you tell me what's good and bad about hosting an open mic?
What's good about hosting an open mic is you get to test out the material and really and really try to connect with people on a level that you wouldn't at a normal show because it's too big of a risk. But at an
Mhm.
open mic, it's yours. You kind of own it. You can do that. That's the good part. The bad part is when people come up to you and say, "Hey, the stuff you were saying in between comics when you were riffing, that was funny." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, oh, you mean all the planned material that I've been working on for the last 8 years? That wasn't funny.
Yeah.
But me just riffing, being in the moment and myself, that was funny. It hurts because it's
Uh-huh.
like you're learning a lesson. Like, okay, I need to tap into that more. But oh god,
Yeah.
so many hours on that at and in joke. So many days and months. And, oh god. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you get an opportunity to run an open mic, it's so much fun when there's a crowd there. Oh, but what's the worst is when there's just comics there.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
in my experience, I'm generally a cheerful guy. I don't curse on stage. I'm not too vulgar or anything because I have
Mhm.
my aspirations to be a club comic or a uh, y- a cruise line comic or a corporate comic. So I
Mhm.
don't do that. So the other bad thing about running an open mic when you're trying to be clean is all the other comics will come up to you going, "Dude, you got to be more dirty. Why don't you say the F word more, man? Come
Uh-huh.
on. Don't you have any?" you know,
I used to get that a lot, yeah.
it's horrible. It's the
Yeah.
worst advice. I know that's a question you ask. And I'm like, and I had that plan, but I just accidentally flowed right into it. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
worst advice is other comics telling you to be more dirty, more angry. It's like, who are
Yeah.
you?
It's the way I explain it is after 5 comics doing ass-eating jokes, I'm the palate cleanser. It's just
Yeah,
something different.
ass eating, palate cleansing. That's perfect. Perfect word, Scott.
Yeah. But only funny
Anybody
to
want?
another comedian.
Yeah. After all this ass eating, I need some ginger or Scott.
Yeah. So we're at the beginning of the year, and I don't know how you are about goals, but I work in a job where I have to write goals, and the goals I wrote uh, morphed into I went ahead and put down my goals for the podcast and comedy and stuff like that. Are you somebody you've got these aspirations? Do you have like goals, and do you do like maybe a form of vision board or anything that puts you in the moment and visualizing your own fortune and fame.
Yes, last year I made a vision board and it's just too vague. I spent all this time and effort on it, and I look at it, I'm like, wow, there's not a distinct goal on there. It's just like right, work out. I did a I had the wrong vision for my board.
uh,
But what really works is just writing them down. I have a a physical calendar I take everywhere, and in the front I have my goals. And you actually helped me out achieve one of those goals, Scott. This year I was like, get a website. It's time. Get a
Mhm,
website. And then you contacted me. I'm like, this is the perfect push. I'm
mhm,
a huge believer in kind of seeking those opportunities that take you out of your comfort level a little bit and
mhm.
push you. And you asked me to be on this podcast. I'm like, I'm getting that website now. And I
Yeah.
and I built it, and I feel so good. I'm like, that was one of my year's goal, and it's only January 10th.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Well, that's
great.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really appreciate it, and goals help. I'm trying. My one of my main goals is to get a credit. I want my name on a flyer and picture with "as seen on" or
Uh-huh.
something on there that just makes go, "Hey, this guy seems pretty funny." And I had this whole plan to do a really nice comedy sketch and get it on Funny or Die or College Humor because I've seen those credits. I'm like, I can get that.
Mhm.
I can attain that. So I did this whole thing. Took 5 months, just finished it, and I was like, okay. And I contacted Funny or Die and College Humor. Both of them are closed. They're not a thing anymore.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
I mean, their videos are still around, but they're not like submit your videos. Maybe we'll put you on the site. No,
Oh, that
it's not around
stinks.
anymore. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, whatever. I got a comedy sketch out of it, but
I really like that sketch too. That was funny, and it took you to a few places you didn't expect.
oh, proof is in the pudding, huh?
Yeah.
You saw
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, a lot of work went into it, but a huge believer in setting goals, and that's the only way. Because I work on comedy probably 2-3 hours a day, and without that goal, I just
Mhm.
end up going back to old bits and rewording it instead of working on that website,
Mhm.
instead of writing that sketch that I want to get on College Humor that's not around anymore. You know?
Yeah. 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 That's great. Oh, well, I'm glad I could help you, get the website going. Get the
Uh, keep having me on this show, Scott, and
Yeah.
I will be on the Tonight Show.
Yeah, no doubt. I always ask if I helped in any way that you just let me be one of your groupies and or hangers on. When you just put me on the payroll and
Yeah.
in your posse or something. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah. Scott, you really do help me, because I'm a listener. I'm a huge fan of your podcast, and I get so much out of it. I
yeah.
really do.
Great. Well, I
You're
appreciate
doing a
that.
great thing.
Yeah. Speaking of the website and where people can find you, what's the website, Trent?
TrentBabbComedy.com, and that's Babb, Babb.
All right.
So yeah, TrentBabbComedy.com, and all the social outlets is hashtag Trent Babb Comedy or at Trent Babb Comedy. I'm mostly on Instagram and Facebook,
Mm.
Twitter. Oh, that's a hard one for me.
It is. It
Twitch.
is. Yeah.
I think I might be a little too old for Twitch or TikTok. I don't even know the names.
Yeah.
Grinder I'm really good at. If you guys
Yeah.
message me on Grinder. But YouTube, my one goal, it- m- consistent goal, is to post a clip each week on Friday. So
Mm.
stay tuned for those. You
Great.
know,
Great.
I'll keep
Well,
I'll
it's
keep telling that Raiders joke so more people
yeah.
approach me, and I'll get all these views just from you, Scott.
Yeah. So you have to come to Alabama sometime and just diss Alabama football and see what happens because that's on my bucket list. See
Yeah,
if I get out of the club alive.
yeah. I'm gonna die a young man making fun of all these football teams.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. This has been enlightening. It's been nice, and it's nice to get to know you a little bit more than just stalking you on the internet.
Yeah, I look forward to the day I see your face outside my window, Scott.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Trent.
Thank you, Scott.